Good afternoon. My name is Dale Rodriguez, and this is Flabonga Montrotacube. With me today, I've got my co-host,
Tony Stevenson.
And our awesome guest,
Ben Sampson.
Awesome. Ben, thank you for joining us.
Very welcome. Good to be here.
I need to apologise to our loyal fans, all 6 of them. We are a good half an hour late. It's entirely my fault. I could not get onto the StreamYard platform. Don't know why. And you guys were patiently waiting. So thank you for your patience, both of you, and thank you for your patience to the viewers. Let's start with the important stuff. So Ben Sampson. Does anyone ever call you Benjamin?
My mum does. If I've been naughty.
Obviously, business-wise, who are you representing right now, and what do you do?
So I've got 3 main roles really. I'm managing partner of Sampson Fielding. That's effectively my baby. That's what I really started 5 years ago, or just under 5 years ago. I have since also started a software company called Accounting Flow. We're a practice management tool, so I'm CEO of Accounting Flow. And then I've also got I'm CFO of a public company named Sunday Bar, which we float on AIM. And so, I mean, that should be enough, right? Those three jobs together is time consuming. And also, I'm a part-time golfer. Well, full-time. Depending on who you ask, they could say full-time.
What's your handicap?
+7.
Oh wow,
very good.
That's actually a very good handicap.
Yeah, I've always thought that the amount I play, it should actually be better.
I'm the same with my guitaring. I've been playing a good 15, 16 years, and I'm okay. I should be better. So no, I can relate. Of the 2 businesses that you run/own, which one's your favourite?
You said there'd be no tough questions. Sampson Fielding is my baby. That's I started that. I started that just under 5 years ago. I know all the clients very, very well. A lot of them are now personal friends. It's hard for me to argue on that. I mean, obviously, I've got a very soft spot for Accounting Flow there, because I think that Accounting Flow actually it was born out of a genuine frustration that we had within our accountancy firm, and so that's kind of my second child.
At least in my next question, I was going to ask, like, what prompted you to start Sampson Fielding, and what prompted you to start Accounting Flow?
Sampson Fielding, I suppose I always wanted to have my own business at some point. And to be brutally honest, I never had any idea of what it was that business was going to be in. After I qualified at my previous firm, I started building up a bit of a client base for whom I did predominantly all the work. I did all the admin for. I literally did everything for them, and I effectively got offered to be a partner at my previous firm, and so I had a choice of do I stick it out or and try and help grow that firm, or do I just try and do it myself? And I just felt like let's give it a go and see what happens. And I had a couple of friends in mind who I thought might want to do it with me. I mean, I was going to do it alone, but then I thought it might be more enjoyed and a bit more of a journey to go on with someone else. Unfortunately, a good friend of mine, Elliot Fielding, he sounded up for it. So when we started, I was very fortunate that all the clients that I wanted to come across came across with me. So we actually started with a little bit of a running jump. My business partner, Elliot, moved in with me because bear in mind, this was the start of COVID. Mm-hmm. So this was November 2020. I think 27th of November or something like that was our official start date. And he moved into my flat. We had a little office in East Sheen. So I live in Putney. And so it was just a sort of 10 minutes down the road. And so we were living together, working together in the same room. It was quite kind of convenient. The problem was that because there was literally nothing else to do at the time. We were working literally all hours of the day. It was probably 7 a.m. at the office, midnight, 1, 2 a.m. Home time. we just didn't have that much client work to do though. So we kind of had to keep ourselves entertained in just doing various things that clearly neither of us had any training in, whether it be marketing, whether it be legals, whether it be PR, whether it be implementing all the processes of how Sampson Fielding would kind of come to be what it has become. And so we sort of went, we started on this journey, and it turned out it was very successful very early on. We were probably turning over $750,000 after about 15 months, which on the basis of it was literally just Elliot and I. That was there was a lot of work that we were doing, so we kind of made the decision then to start hiring. We hired Jordan Boston from Grant Thornton. He was a good friend of mine beforehand. He came across in February 22. At the time, we still had this one. Well, we'll call it a 3-person office in East Sheen. So he was traveling from where was it? It was like Finchley or somewhere like that, all the way down to East Sheen every day. And we thought this is a bit ridiculous. And the fact that we then wanted to hire more people. So we basically found an office in Mayfair. So that's where we have been ever since. And we've effectively just grown out the team from there. So I was very lucky that one of my partners from the previous firm, she basically agreed, well, I sort of propositioned her, and she agreed to come across it, which is quite a nice sort of circular story.
Yeah,
she pretty much trained me. So it's really nice to actually have her around. I mean, her name's Lindsay Pastor, and quite frankly, she's brilliant. We brought Aoife Waters from also Grant Thornton in their tax team. So she's come in and is our director of tax. All things corporate, personal. She's brilliant. And then it was about hiring grads. So we put 2 people through the ACA CTA joint pathway, another 2 the next year. And then it was sort of at the stage where we had still a lot of work for that team, and so the top line was growing really nicely. We then decided to buy 2 other firms last year. So in April 24 we bought Blythe & Co, and in June 24 we bought Bartram Lerner. Now that effectively doubled our revenue overnight, doubled our staff count overnight. And it in the months leading up to it, it just became apparent that working off a spreadsheet wasn't going to quite cut it.
I was going to ask, like, it must have been hard managing people, processes, and bring it into one place. So merging, as we want to call it.
To be fair, that's difficult. The team, honestly, the guys we brought in, I really can't thank them enough. They've made life very, very easy for us. Compared to a lot of the horror stories that you do hear, certainly from the consolidators. But we, it was maybe 6 months prior to maybe engaging in when these conversations about the acquisitions became more and more apparent that it was likely to happen. It was certainly something that we were thinking about, because, as I said, we built everything on a spreadsheet. It had many tabs, it had many columns and rows, etc. And it just wasn't going to be manageable when we now look after 650 companies, 1,300 individuals, and 200 trusts. And there's obviously a couple of charities and other different entities in there. But that would have been very tough on a spreadsheet. And so we went down the road of looking at other softwares. And I mean, I ought to not probably name the competition, but we went with 2 of them. One of them, we started with. It was very
no pressure. We're not going to force you to name them. Like, just
after a week or so of that one, it was clearly not going to work for us. Then we went on to probably the largest player in the market, which we stuck with for a couple of months. But it was just not. It forced us to work in their way rather than it kind of. Have a software that molds its way around actually improving your own processes. We can get more into, but anyway. So long story short, we tried out the rest of the competition, and it was genuinely giving me sleepless nights as to how we were going to overcome this problem. And then a couple of clients, well, one of our clients that I got in very early on when I started Sampson Fielding, they they're exited founders of a couple of other tech companies, and so I just happened to bump into one of them in the Pret in Mayfair. Sort of was explaining my gripe, and he basically turned around and said, "Well, let's build it." So that really was the start of Accounting Flow, and it's just kind of come on leaps and bounds since then. I mean, the first 8 to 12 months was entirely focused around building what Sampson Fielding needed. There was always an eye on, if this is good, we could push it out to others and see who else it is that we can solve the same problems that we had.
Can I ask you the $1 million question? I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
I'm going to be super direct about it then. Right, ready? What is it that Accounting Flow does differently than the competition?
It works.
Shots fired,
I love how you didn't name the competitors, which is great, but you said it works. But honestly, for our audience, because there's a fair amount of bookkeepers and accounting firms that watch this, what problem does it actually solve? I'm teeing you up for the sales pitch here, man. What does it do? Why do we want to use it?
The alternative providers effectively have a way of doing things, which I don't believe are masterminded by accountants who actually have to do them in that way.
I'm inclined to agree, yes.
So they come up with all these great ideas without actually trying to implement them into how a firm actually works. And I suspect that they've had lots and lots of feedback from loads of different accounting firms, and they've come up with an amalgamation of how their developers think it's going to work. Obviously, testing it across a couple of people, it might work for some firms, it doesn't work for others. And frankly, they just lack the intense customizability that a practice management software actually does need if you're going to sell it to multiple different firms. What Accounting Flow really does do is it allows for that customizability, and it allows for think of it as a large database of all of your information, and you can do with that whatever it is that you want to do. Whereas if you used certain ones, they insist that you use all of their features. So email integrations for one. Now, while we have an email integration, and there are certain times where I do think it should be used, if you don't use their email integration, you're only getting access to 10% of their software. I'll let you work out which one that is. So I think, Outlook have they've masterminded the email for the last 30 years, and I'd say that frankly they do it very well. Having to change your process to get all of your staff now using their email integration, that's a huge step for any firm. If, for example, you decide that you want to leave that software for whatever reason, trying to extract yourself from something which is so deeply rooted in, of which you've changed all of your processes to fit how they're going to do it, it's basically an impossible task. So you're then, when you sign up to the others, you're effectively signing a lifetime contract. Whereas with Accounting Flow, the way I do business with both my accounting firm and the software company is we only want to work with people that want to work with us and that we want to work with them. And I think that's how you build genuine relationships where you're effectively partners with your clients. I think the competition is missing that.
I'm aware I've asked a lot of questions, and I can see the gears in Tony's head turning. Tony, come on, I can see you want something.
Oh, I've got tons, mate. I've got 3 hours worth of questions already. I would like to go back a little bit to the chat about your acquisitions, Ben, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course.
Firstly, congratulations on finding firms left to buy. Well done. I'm surprised there are still any left. The second question I had was I was just talking about this with somebody the other day, and about how obviously you go through due diligence process and there's numbers, and there's margins, and and there's adoption of technology, and there's a bunch of factors that go into this thing. I don't claim to be learning about this space at all, and it's an area I've had on my list for a long time to get more knowledge about. But I'm interested in how important in that process do you rank like vibes, right? So when you walk into that office and you feel what it's like to be, because you said the people that you brought in were really, really good and have come in and made that process really easy. So I'm just really interested in like how much the intangible played into that. And if you were to go so far as to put like a percentage of the deal that you put together, how much of it was based on the fact that, you know, we think these people will work for us, or maybe we don't for the ones that you perhaps looked at.
Yeah.
Just interested in.
I wouldn't be a very good accountant if I said 100% vibes.
No.
You wouldn't be a good business person if you said 100% vibes either, let's be honest. Like,
you could be a very lucky person.
Honestly, I don't think I'm anyone with any sort of massively discernible talent. I think I have been very lucky with pretty much everything I've done so far. And I'm semi-convinced that the luck's going to run out at some point, but fingers crossed it doesn't.
I feel like that.
So I mentioned to you that we moved into an office in East Sheen when I started the business, and that was actually one of my best mates from school. His dad's had a firm, and so when he had a spare room in his office in East Sheen, and so we built. I knew John Blythe very well beforehand, but that I guess really solidified that relationship. And when we started thinking about how we were going to sort of extend our growth, it was a natural conversation to have with him. He was a we'll call it a retiring partner. He is very much still around, and he may not thank me for saying that. His wife may thank me for saying that, though. But he, I asked the question, are you up for it? And he said yes. So that was kind of that one. In terms of the numbers of that one, I mean, the numbers stacked up. We thought that we could do a good job on their client base. We knew their staff very well, given that we worked in the same office as them for 15 months. Actually, it's slightly longer. Actually, it'd be about 18 months. I think it was May 22 we moved to Mayfair. So about 18 months we worked in the same office with the staff. We knew them well. Obviously, I knew John and John really well. So that was sort of that one. The second one was a firm called Barton Lerner, and at my old firm, a slightly convoluted setup, but they effectively worked in the same office, and so I got to know the two partners, Stephen and Simon, really well just during my time after my previous firm got acquired. So I kind of knew them really well, and I sort of thought, well, while we're doing one acquisition, we might as well do two. And so,
go big or go home.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. Elliot and I took.
We've got the bonnet open. Like, let's just copy paste. Yeah.
How hard can it be? And
quite hard.
Elliot and I took Stephen and Simon to the Guinea Grill in Mayfair, which is, by the way, is a fantastic restaurant. It's a great pub, but it's an even better restaurant. It's been there, I mean, for donkey's years. We took them there, and I mean, they must have known what was up, but we propositioned them. I kept in touch with them on a semi-regular basis.
How many beers deep were you by this point?
Great minds, Tony. Great minds.
I think it was the wine that was the problem.
Okay.
We sort of fulfilled all the niceties. Had a lovely steak, and if you ever go there, the sides I've just ordered all of them. And after I think it was over dessert, I sort of popped the question, a little bit like a marriage proposal, I suppose. And they, I guess preliminary, they seem keen. They sort of like they've been following my journey at Sampson Fielding and what it is that we were doing. Genuinely, I think they were pretty impressed with how we'd kind of actually even got to the ability to have that conversation in such a short space of time. And then it was just, I guess there was a little bit of thrashing out the sort of details of how we were going to do it. Bear in mind that I didn't take on any equity or debt. Or debt in order to finance either of these. So these were all done from effectively the success of Sampson Fielding. Once again, I got on really well with the two partners. I knew them well. I knew one of the guys in the team who came across, and they had a couple of other staff that I didn't know as well. So we sort of met them, and it just seemed a really good fit. It's certainly in terms of the work type, the quality of work, that was important for us. And yeah,
So
there was a large
high on the list. Yeah.
Okay, I need to ask Ben. I'm going to interrupt a little bit. I'm going to ask you some questions. Would you like a serious question next, or a less serious question next?
We'll go for less serious first.
Okay, I'm going to set Tony up for this one. Do you drink coffee?
Okay.
I certainly do.
All right.
Good.
Over to Tony.
So, if we can agree that your local artisan coffee shop, of which you probably have many in Putney, I imagine, is A1 grade, and that's kind of what we're shooting for. If you are stuck in a world where you only have choice of the large coffee chains, which one are you going to gravitate towards, and which one are you going to avoid like the plague?
I mean, Pret purely based on proximity. You couldn't argue.
I rate a Pret flat white. I have to say, I rate a Pret flat white.
I used to say, I guess I used to, when you remember when they had the Pret subscription where you paid, I think, £25 a month and you got unlimited, or you got up to 5 coffees a day. We'll call it the opposite of a glow up phase, but I was having 5 hazelnut lattes a day.
The opposite of a glow up phase. I like the way you phrase that.
Honestly, they're bloody good. On the flip side, to be honest, I don't really go to many. Like the only one I ever go to is Pret. I would probably never step foot in a Starbucks, if I'm honest with you.
I think most guests put Starbucks at the bottom. Most.
Interesting, yeah. So Costa's my one purely based on the fact that the sizing is all wrong. But it's actually not. It's not based purely on that. It's based largely on that, and also just personal preferences to the.
Yeah,
but you and I disagree on that one, don't we? So because you dislike Costa, I like Costa because I don't put additives in my coffee. I like my coffee like me, black and bitter. So the sizes are fine for me. It's coffee and water.
My knowledge of the variance between each of the different ones is pretty minimal. But I'm happy with my choices there.
Okay, I need to ask you another silly question because you've gone away with talking about some really great business stuff. I think the one thing I love about this show, right, is having guests like you who are knowledgeable and approachable, and we could talk to you for hours. I know we can't because you're busy, and just extracting that knowledge out of your brain. But I also want to get people to know your personality a little bit. So please humour me with this question.
Okay.
If you were a biscuit, what kind of biscuit would you be that accurately portrays your personality and why? But please don't just pick your favourite biscuit.
I reckon that's the worst question anyone could ever ask me.
I know, it's a terrible question. There's a story behind the question.
And I'm not allowed to choose which one I like the most.
You can choose the one you like the
most. But you've got to justify it. Yeah.
I've always been a bit partial to a chocolate hobnob. Well, you know those
elite tier biscuit. That is great.
The digestives. With the chocolate digestives with like a layer of caramel just underneath.
Ben, yes.
Ben, you know your biscuits. You're now a friend of the show, by the way. You're back anytime. Like
those. I mean, how I'm going to liken them to my personality. I mean, that's a very difficult question for me to answer.
We'll
go with solid in terms of the biscuit amount, reliable. Everyone likes the digestive, but then I guess there's a little bit of added extra on top. And in the case of the double layered caramel and then chocolate, there's a lot of extra added on top.
I like that answer. That's a very good blind date kind of answer. Thank you for humouring me, by the way. I understand the ridiculousness. Is that a word, ridiculousness? Yes, of that question. So thank you for humouring me. Just going to jump in the comments real quick. So friend of the show, Sam Green, he apologised. Sam Green, afternoon chaps, apologies for my delayed attendance. Sam, don't worry. It was a significantly delayed start. So thank you for watching, dude. Thank you for commenting.
Yeah, actually.
Adam Clark, my hot take, Costa as
former friend of the show after this nonsense.
Why former friend of the show?
My take, Costa a part of a meal deal is fine.
Again, Costa's one of my faves, so 2 points for Adam.
I love you, really, Ad. We're all welcome to our own opinions.
Okay. Ben, thank you very much for that, because I know I completely interrupted you and whole sequitur. Serious question. Okay, so, and I'm going to preface the question a little bit, right? With 2020, when COVID happened, I think it disrupted the accounting world a lot, right? We saw a lot of people going out on their own, having smaller portfolios, starting their own practices. What advice would you give to someone in the bookkeeping/accounting space if they want to start their own practice or firm?
Work really hard. There's no shortcut, really there isn't. And I mean, I promise you, if there was, I would have found it. The best thing, there's a lot of accountants out there who can do the work. You know, they not necessarily, not everyone can give the best advice, etc. But in terms of certainly the compliance work, doing the work and having a partner review it is a very different mindset when you're actually at in a larger firm. To you are the one who is responsible for what it is that you're sending out. That's obviously one side of the job, actually getting the work done, handling everything. But the most important skill is how do you speak to your clients, and frankly, how do you get new business? You've got it's effectively it's a bit of a fashion parade, really, when you're trying to get a new client in. You've got to come across as reliable. You've got to come across as someone that they want to work with.
Vibes.
And yeah, well, look, when I said 100% vibes on the previous answer, I was only half joking. I think it's so important to get out there and meet as many people as you can, and have genuine conversations with them. Other people are very interesting, and certainly people that accountants speak to are generally, it's a massive generalization. People that need an accountant generally have something interesting going on. Like, take the time to go outside, learn about it, go for a coffee, go for a drink, go for lunch, go for dinner, whatever it is that you're going to do to go out and meet people. Just go and do it, because and it's that balance that you've really got to strike up. It's the balance of meeting enough people, being able to put across what it is that you've actually got to offer versus what someone else has to offer, and see whether or not it appeals to you. We were very lucky that we had a policy of, and I sort of alluded to it earlier, we had a policy of we only want to work with people that A, we want to work with, and B, they want to work with us. And so that meant that not everyone was right for us, and certainly we weren't right for everyone. That stood us in really good stead. And I'd say that if you're starting from absolute scratch, there is obviously going to be an element of desperation. I'd suggest you try and not allow your clients to see that from you. And sometimes you might have to kiss a few frogs. We were very lucky that we didn't really. We've generally speaking worked with great people doing great things. And by having that, I guess, that culture within inside our firm, and that, I guess, the standard of what we expect from our clients and what they expect from us being so high, I think that promotes a really strong business relationship. So I'd say doing the work, obviously you've got to fit that in. That's important. And the better the job that you do, the more likely you are to A, retain the client, and B, for them to recommend you. But second thing is you've got to just get out and meet people. Like, forget all the flowery stuff. That's the key to building a client base.
I am struggling to decide whether to ask you silly questions or more serious questions. Again, you have such a wealth of knowledge, and I want to make sure our viewers get actually some value of this. But I also want to ask you some fun questions because you seem like a cool guy.
You should take that as a real compliment then, because Dale always loves to ask the questions. I can see how conflicted you are in your brain at the moment.
Genuinely, like
the issue you're going to have here is that I can talk for England, so
yes, we do a show talking. Yeah,
all three of us can.
It's quite funny. So I've actually got a little bit about me. I've got a twin sister, and she's known as a chatty version of me.
Okay, I'll ask you a semi-serious question. I ask it to some of the accountants I have on the show. I asked Tony when he was a guest of the show before he was co-host. Okay, in layman's terms, can you explain what a journal is?
Yes.
Accountants love journals. They're like, let's journal it over. Oh, we're in Zero. Let's go. We'll journal over. We're in Sage. Let's do a journal. What's a journal?
As in, would you like me to explain what it is? Or...
If you could dumb it down for me, yeah. Please and thank you.
A journal is effectively an accounting record of it's an accounting record of transfer of money, whether that be current money or future money. It's a method, I guess. It's a method by which it's a method by which you keep your accounting records, whether that be assets, liabilities, income, or expenses. You debit something, you have to credit it. You have to credit something else.
Thank you for the explanation. I
That's
genuinely
a dreadful answer.
No, it's a pretty good answer. It simplifies it because, again, like as a non-accountant working in this space, like sometimes like there's terminology they've had to pick up over the years, and that's the one that got me for a while. I was like, what are they talking about? So thank you for explaining that. All right, okay, serious question. You mentioned your policy for working with clients in terms of like vibe, not kissing frogs, and all that kind of stuff. Did you have a similar policy or way of working with your first couple of hires? Because again, when people do their first hire, if you've never hired someone before, never run your own business before, again, as you mentioned, being the boss is different than being an employee. What kind of things did you do to vet your first couple of hires, or was it too easy because you kind of knew them already?
Well, Jordan was one of my best mates beforehand.
Okay, well, that makes
so
it easy.
I knew what he was about.
Yeah.
The thing is that he's a big Tottenham fan, and I'm also a big Tottenham fan, I'm afraid to say. And so I actually met him doing the Principles of Tax course in the ACA, and we just sort of hit it off from there, kept in contact, we were going to Tottenham, etc. He was at Grant Thornton, fancied a change, and I was there to receive him. The next one, as I said, Lindsay, who trained me, she was part of my previous firm. I knew her really well. Aoife was her husband now, is really good mates with my business partner. I remember meeting her in, I think it was the 2020 Euros. Euros. We went to a pub together. I remember after a lot of alcohol, just speaking to her about tax, which is obviously my favourite topic. And
is it genuinely your favourite topic?
This is live, right?
It is live, yeah. Because I know how Tony feels about tax.
It's always a bit of a joke between Elliot and I, in that when he was living at mine, Elliot is not he does not go to bed early, certainly after a few beers. And at 6 a.m, it would generally be the time for Elliot to start talking about pensions. That being his favourite topic. Anyway, that was my cue to go to bed.
Yes. I filled out the pensions chat. Do you think maybe he wanted you to go to bed because he wanted to go to bed as well? So he thought, I'll wheel out the pensions chat.
No, Elliot is a machine. He can continue. He's the last man standing in every operation.
I noticed a common thread, Ben, in that a lot of your Steve Jobs has that thing about looking back and you connect the dots and you can see it from retrospect. It's like there feels like there was a lot of things that have happened in your life and people that you've met and relationships that you've built and chances that you've taken that have led to things that have then come back around again in the future to be 100%. Something. Yeah.
And that I suppose is I suppose that's what I'm alluding to in terms of getting out, meeting people, show your personality. To as many times as you can, because you never know what's going to stick.
Are you familiar with Sahil Bloom and his concept of like your surface area of luck?
I have heard of this, yes.
Yeah, it's just really interesting. Dale raised his eyebrows, so I'll explain what I mean for listeners and for anyone. So he has this theory, and I hope I'm not messing it up too badly, but essentially that like one end of this spectrum is that you sit in a room, tell nobody about anything that you do, get on with whatever you do, and your surface area of luck will almost certainly be very, very tiny. And that the more that you put yourself out into the world, the more that you do the stuff that Ben's described, meeting with people, taking chances, taking calculated risks, putting yourself out there again and again and again, that it builds what he calls your surface area of luck. So that when you look back at what you would describe as perhaps lucky, serendipitous, fortunate events that took place that seem like maybe they kind of come out of nowhere, that actually that luck is more of a science or more of something that you can impact on than you perhaps realize it is, because if you continuously put yourself out there, these opportunities will attract to you, partly because you give off that kind of vibe because you're out in the world saying I'm open, let's talk, and also partly because you're just there, so they happen you happen to bump into things cosmically more often. So, and I'm quite a big. I think it's a really interesting take, and I really like it.
Yeah,
it's just your conversation has reminded me of it as well.
I believe that. I've got a very good friend of mine, Matt Dickinson, who I play a lot of golf with, who has previously described me as the world's greatest yes man.
I used to play rugby with a guy that we called the greatest yes man. Career-wise, very different.
I'm hoping when he means it doesn't mean literally anything. It's more just, do you want to go for a beer? Okay, let's do it. Do you want to play golf? Okay, let's do it. Do you want to get involved in this? Yeah, let's do it. And I think that's possibly what you're alluding to in terms of the cycle of luck, effectively, in that if you do put yourself out there, more things are going to happen.
So I've heard it as something different, not the surface area of luck. I have a BD background, and I had a sales manager. He said, like, Dale, the luckiest salespeople aren't the most charismatic. In fact, luck in sales isn't luck. It's if you knock on one door, you have one opportunity. If you knock on 1,000 doors, you have 1,000 opportunities. It will look like luck, but you've taken more chances. So similar kind of thing. Like you literally said, lucky people would generate their own luck. So similar concept.
Yeah,
I get that.
I would say I'm very lucky though.
Lee Stallard, surface area of luck. Love this. I need to read more of Sahil's work. Hey Lee, how's it going? Sorry, that's me getting distracted.
Future guest of the show.
100%. He also does work with the digital disruptors.
He does.
Are you familiar with the digital disruptors, Ben?
I'm not, no.
Honestly, a very informative channel. Ryan Piercy, John Toon, and Indy Tatler. They literally do the news for our industry. They get some really good inside scoops about like software, mergers, acquisitions. They do an hour show. John gives his very opinionated opinions. Ryan reins it back a little bit, and Indy is the genius that makes it all work. But it's a really good show to watch. I watch it almost every other week.
Okay, I do know John Toon. He did he's got a series of talks, I suppose. They call them Toon Tech Talks, and he came and hosted an event for Accounting Flow with us down in over in Shoreditch, actually. So I got to know him reasonably well there.
There you go. Yeah, he's a good guy. They're definitely worth talking to. Lee joined their crowd a little while back. I'll plug Lee. So if you want anybody to do video stuff for you, then speak to Lee because he's in that world and very good at it. So, and an all-round thoroughly nice guy. I look forward to him being on the show. I used to work with him back in my Xero days. So, yeah.
Many moons ago.
Many moons ago, yeah. It feels like it was like yesterday, and then I'm like, no, it was a decade ago. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Okay, Ben, another semi-serious, semi-silly question. What's the best thing about being a CFO for a large company, and what's the worst thing about being a CFO for a large company?
The best thing, I genuinely find it interesting. It's exposure to things that I've not necessarily been exposed to before. Dealing obviously with much larger numbers, much more rigorous. I guess just ongoing compliance and procedures. But I do genuinely find the world very interesting. I find as I said, it's not something I had a particularly fantastic experience in before. I was very lucky to get the position, and it's just been a really interesting journey. The worst thing has got to be, undoubtedly, is that one of the reasons I started the business, because I don't think I make a fantastic employee. I'm not particularly great at being told what to do or being.
Most entrepreneurs don't.
Yeah, well, I'm not great at being held to other people's timelines. I quite like being sort of the master of my own diary, and
same reason I hate trains.
Yeah, well, that's got to be the negative in that I'm no longer beholden to my own free will.
That's cool. And have you had any kind of I don't know, penny drop eureka moments as CFO? Like any moments like, wow, that's amazing.
I've got to be very careful what I say here.
We can skip this question if you want. That's not a problem.
Let's skip this one.
Okay, that's cool. Tony, do you have any questions? I'm hogging all the questions.
Yeah, I got thousands. Yeah. So this is one I've asked a lot of times before to people that we have on the show, which I find eternally fascinating. Which is, like when you moved from being an employee to being an entrepreneur, like how did you find that shift? How did it affect you mentally? Was it a wholly positive experience? Was there downside to it that you weren't expecting?
I probably didn't give it enough thought before I actually did it.
Yes, let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah, like it just seemed a good idea to me, so I thought let's give it a go. Negative parts, it's a lot for someone to take on. Like it really is a lot where you really are the signatory on everything. It is, certainly when you do get staff, you are responsible. And we've got 25 staff at Sampson Fielding. We are responsible for their livelihoods. Obviously, I'm sure they're all genuinely all fantastic, so they'll be able to find another job. No questions asked. But assuming they couldn't, we are responsible for their livelihoods. I'd say that's a lot of pressure to take. And I mean, I'd say I'm a very unstressed individual. But there are certainly times when I do think
I should be stressed now.
I do often think, this sounds stressful, but I don't know. I generally try and deal with things as they come in, and ultimately, I've got a great team around me who make my life as easy as it could possibly be. I do remember a couple of, I think it was about 18 months after I started the business. I mean, Elliot and I were working seriously hard, all day, every day. We built up as a reasonably large client base at that point, certainly for two people to do all of the work, run all kind of the external stuff for the firm, etc. That was, it maybe caught up with me a little bit then, for a brief period, we'll call it. The thing is, I thoroughly enjoy it, and I think that what my dad always said to me that our problems will come when we start hiring staff, and I mean I've genuinely have found the opposite. I really have. Since we've built our team, I cannot speak higher of them. I really can't. I mean Lindsay really is superb, and she takes a lot of the day-to-day, I guess, otherwise seen as stress off Elliot and my plate, and we are very, very lucky to have her.
I've noticed a common theme with people like yourselves, entrepreneurs who are successful, when we have them on the show, is a certain level of humility. Like all the great people we've had on the show will point to others that have supported them, and I notice you're doing that as well. Just an observation. I'm going to jump into the comments because we've got a viewer question. And speaking to viewers, by the way, if you do have questions, please type them in the comments, ask them to Ben, direct them to us. We'll get to them. Adam Clark. Has Ben heard of #PitchSlap? That's the main question.
No.
I can elaborate if you like. So my understanding of the pitch slap movement is predominantly LinkedIn. It's a movement that it's a LinkedIn thing, right? Someone will find your profile, they'll hit you up in the DMs, and it will be a straight up pitch slap. They'll just be like, buy my stuff. And I think that's what pitch slap is. Adam, if I've got that wrong,
so
please let me know. But
that is correct, but there's more to it than that. So that's where the term comes from. Okay. The actual what he's referring to, I believe, is Adam and former guest and friend of the show, Jordan Vickery's pitch slap idea. So what they basically did was they go around at conferences, they happen upon you with a big like kind of pitch slap foam finger, and you've got 10 seconds to pitch your business, and you've got to do it in 10 seconds, and they film you, and you don't get any warm-ups, you don't get any like repeat goes, you've just got 10 seconds and that's it. And then they basically like amalgamate them all into a really cool video, and then share it out on LinkedIn, and then the world gets to vote for who was the best pitch slap. I did it last year
because they did it to me at Caltex.
There you go. So yeah, you see, you've been in it and still managed to not know what it was.
No. They came to the stand I was on. I was again supporting the digital disruptors, and they came up with the pitch slap, and they chose to speak to Ryan instead of me. So I didn't actually do it, but I'm aware of it. So thank you for reminding me. Yes.
Yeah. Adam, if you want
That's not suggesting that you're about to ask me to do that, right?
No. If you want to share the link to like last video in the comments, then you're more than welcome to, mate. That's what I think they meant. Go on, mate. You got a question, Dan?
No, I was going to suggest quick fire time.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to do.
I'm going to mute myself because I can't hold back.
All right, so we are going to, if you're game, Ben, which I think I know the answer to already, we do a quick fire round. I have about 15 questions and I pick 10 of them, and I'll ask you the questions, and it is as short an answer as you can get away with by giving the point across. So if you're game, then we'll go for it.
Let's do it.
Right. So, question one: what is one skill that you wish you had but you don't?
Patience.
That's probably the best answer I've had for that. Favorite country you've ever visited?
Boring, but Portugal. I love golf. That's the answer.
I was in Portugal playing golf in March and got rained upon heavily, but played well.
Just on that, I would like to plug Terrace de Comporta Dudas course.
Okay.
If you haven't played it, oh my God, you should.
Yeah, cool. Put it on the list. Favorite country you have never visited? Where would you like to go most in the world?
Okay. Brazil.
Okay. For the Rhodesia. Right. So, with hindsight, what alternative career could you have pursued if it wasn't the one that you have embarked upon?
Professional golfer, but I wouldn't have done very well.
Okay. What is your spirit animal?
A lion.
I thought you were going to say Tiger Woods then. Very good, very good. The book that you recommend the most often?
Harry Potter.
Okay. Most hated grammatical error or mispronounced word?
Can I go for my favourite?
Yeah.
Spelling Elliot with one L.
Okay. That is a legitimate spelling of Elliot, though, isn't it?
All two T's is fine. It's just that's not how you spell Elliot already.
Okay. So your unpopular opinion?
Tottenham going to win the league next year.
And this is my most recent one, and I think possibly my favourite one of the whole lot. What is your best ever 1 in a million trick shot? Think hole in one, that type of thing. Clearly haven't had hole in one.
No, I haven't. I did get an eagle on a 450-yard par 4 once. That was quite good. I don't know.
Okay, very good.
Maybe I'll have a think and maybe I'll come back.
Okay, that is the end of the quick fire questions.
Oh, fine. Okay. Right,
very good. Dale, you can unmute yourself.
Sorry, to explain, the reason why I mute myself is because I lack the ability to withhold myself when people say things. I want to jump in, and it's important the quick fire questions come out. First of all, thank you again. I'm just going to say it again. Thank you for joining us. You've been very patient with us. You've answered our questions. We're getting towards the end of the hour. Thank you for staying on later because we started later. Do you have any questions for Tony and I? Anything popped into your head as we've been talking?
Nothing pre-planned in that I didn't really know what it was that I'd said yes to when I said yes to this. So I suppose what I guess back at you. What is it that drove you to start the podcast?
Okay, so a couple of things. I tried starting my own accounting firm in 2020, despite not being an accountant. Fun story. And I thought it would be a great way to promote myself, and it worked quite well. But I also got annoyed, specifically with LinkedIn. Two schools of people on LinkedIn, right? There's two extremes. People who just post Instagram-esque stuff with no substance or value. Get that off my feed. It's a business platform. I'm happy for you to post pictures of your life, but just kind of bring an analogy in with it. I'd appreciate that. And then there's people who are doing like proper corporate stuffy stuff. And there's proper sales. There's all that kind of stuff. Like, that's boring. How do I get both in one place? How do I get people to get value from other business leaders or people in their field? I was like, okay, I'll invite people I know or experts that I respect to come on, talk, and ask them some dumb questions, humanizing them a little bit, but also making sure they give me some good answers on, how to grow, develop businesses. And so when people watch this, they can know how to grow and develop a business and know that you're also a real person and it's not just luck.
Yeah, fair enough. I've got my opinion of LinkedIn is, and my marketing team really won't thank me for saying this. I can't help but think that it is marketing teams speaking to other marketing teams.
Or AI bots speaking to other AI bots.
Yes.
We'll just go down that rabbit hole where it all ends up becoming just us sitting watching one AI bot speak to another AI bot, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, things I'm one of the biggest doom scrollers of Twitter that you're ever going to meet. I almost can't go to sleep until I've completed Twitter that night, or X, I should say now. I reckon 2 minutes of LinkedIn and I'm done.
I see Dan had quite a nice elaborate reason for wanting to do it. I just really like the sound of my own voice, and also I really find myself in conversations with people going like, God, this is such an interesting conversation with this really interesting person. I'm sure that there are other interesting people out there who would like to listen to this conversation or maybe be part of it in some way or other, and that's kind of why I've always wanted to do something like this. And I think Dale and I are just a kind of natural duo of I want to say awesomeness, but you shouldn't really say that about yourself, should you? So yeah, I think we work quite well as a double act. So yeah.
How did the two of you meet?
Through LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Through love of barbecue. I think you posted about barbecue, or I did.
Yeah.
And because we're like, I won't say aficionados, but we both take our barbecue somewhat seriously. We both like it.
Have you got those egg, the egg ones?
Oh, I
At one point, my collection was 7 barbecues deep. So. Yeah.
And I'm basically just waiting to move house to build an outside kitchen and own 7 barbecues, but I don't want to do that until I've moved into the forever home kind of thing. So
transport of them could be an issue.
Well, it's just like you don't want to buy 7 barbecues, move into a house, and it not be quite what you thought, and then have to get rid of 4 of them, and then buy another 7 barbecues. And it's also just like, that's the dream.
Good for the economy, though.
It would be not so much.
I no longer own 7, by the way, just to clarify.
No. How many do you
own? 2.
Yeah, I got 2. Both Webbers.
I've got a solitary one, and I'm feeling a bit left out now.
Yeah.
I think it's not the number of barbecues you have.
It's not. Okay. That's absolutely correct. I think
a barbecue. Sorry, go on.
I think a good measure of someone's interest in barbecues if they know what a reverse sear is. I think if you can ask them that, if they go, oh yeah, I know what a reverse sear is, then you know that they've taken enough interest to kind of delve into this stuff.
I'll go one step further. If someone's ever cooked a brisket and done a good job,
yes.
Brisket is like the pinnacle of low and slow.
It's the pitmaster's test, isn't it? Yeah. I've had some relative success with it. For a reverse sear is essentially where you cook the meat in the barbecue as an oven on an indirect flame. So you put the flame is this side, you put your steak here, it would cook the steak through, and then you move it directly onto the direct. And then you can give it the crust and get the Maillard reaction going and all that kind of stuff. So it stops you from burning meat that is then raw on the inside and burnt on the outside. So
I'll give it a go.
Yeah, it'll transform grilling for you.
Yes, I didn't realize it needed to be transformed, but I'll have to see what the benefits are now.
It will. Also, one other one: if you can get a sous vide machine, sous vide your steak for like an hour or 2, then sear that bad boy. Oh my days, juiciness and flavor for eons.
Interesting. I don't own a sous vide machine. I'm familiar with the method.
You guys are playing on a different calorie level to what I'm on.
It's achievable. It's very achievable, Ben. It's very achievable. Although with 2 businesses and a CFO position and an extensive golf habit, trying to fit barbecue in, I'm not sure where that would fit into your schedule, to be honest, mate.
No, me neither. But you never know.
I think things are drawing to a natural close. It's been almost an hour. Ben, before we log off, before you switch off, do you have one piece of advice or nugget of wisdom, one bombshell you want to go out on, and I'll hit end stream and then we'll roll out?
Say yes to most things.
I like that.